and welcome to the Rational Living Show. I am your host, Dr. Aldo Pucci. This is a weekly show that is broadcast live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern United States time. I am president of the National Association of Cognitive Behavioral Therapists. We are based in the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area. I developed, years ago, I started developing rational living therapy. And rational living therapy focuses on the fact that our thoughts cause our feelings and behaviors, not people and things and situations and events. I am author of two books, The Client's Guide to Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, which is now in its second edition, as well as the book, Feel the Way You Want to Feel No Matter What. And you can find both of those on Amazon.com. This is an interactive show. If you're listening on Podbean, you can use the Podbean app to call in with your questions or comments. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or X or LinkedIn, you may type your questions or comments, and I will do my best to answer them. So please do. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to type them in, or you can call using the Podbean app. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have. The title of this week's episode is, What If Thinking? Should You Stop It? Years ago, a therapist sold an anti-anxiety program that was advertised nationwide on the radio. During her radio ads, she would say, I will show you how to stop what if thinking. I would giggle every time I heard that because it was promoting, and what she was doing was promoting the myth that the question, what if, causes anxiety. And I want to make something very clear this evening. What if questions do not cause anxiety? And I will explain why in a moment. But you know, there are so many what if questions that people ask. For example, what if I fail? A person's about to take an exam or studying for an exam, maybe a school exam or maybe a licensing exam or an exam, the exam to get their driver's license. And they ask, well, what if I fail? Or what if I embarrass myself? Or what if this goes terribly wrong? Or what if I lose everything? Maybe a person's wanting to start a business and they go into debt and they think to themselves, to open the business, and they think to themselves, well, what if I lose everything? Or what if I can't handle it? Or what if this feeling never goes away? I'm feeling really depressed. What if it never goes away? Or maybe I'm feeling this physical pain. What if that never goes away? Or what if I break down in public? What if I start to cry in front of everyone? Or what if something bad happens and it's my fault? Then there are what ifs related to health and panic. What if this is a heart attack? Or what if I pass out? Or what if I'm developing a serious illness? I have this lump. This lump never used to be here before, and I'm not sure that it's normal to have this lump here. What if it's something serious? What if the doctor missed something? I know I got examined. I know I got evaluated by the doctor, but what if he missed something? What if this anxiety damages my body? Or what if I can't breathe? And another very common one is, what if I go crazy? What will happen to me? And then there are social and rejection type of what ifs, such as, what if they think I'm stupid? What if I give a speech and people think it's dumb and they think I'm stupid? Or if I make a mistake and they think I'm stupid? Or what if they don't like me? Or, what if I ask a girl out on a date and she turns me down? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I offend someone? What if they're really mad at me? Or what if they leave me? Then there are work and performance kind of what ifs, such as what if I make a mistake? Or what if I get fired? Then what? Or what if I'm not good enough? What if they discover I'm a fraud? That's a very common one as well. What if they discover that I'm not as smart as they thought I was? Or what if I can't keep up? And then there are relationship types of what ifs, such as what if I married the wrong person? Or what if I fall out of love? Or what if they cheat on me? Or what if I hurt them? Or what if I never find the right person? And then there are moral and responsibility type of what ifs, such as what if I caused harm without realizing it? Or what if I didn't lock the door? I'll bet you've thought that before, huh? You're down the road, driving in your car, and you think, what if I didn't lock the door? What if I didn't unplug my curling iron or something, right? Or what if I contaminated someone? That was a common one a couple of years ago, wasn't it, with COVID-19? What if I contaminated someone? Or what if they contaminated me? Or what if I get the COVID-19 virus? Then what? Or what if I made the wrong decision? Or what if I regret this forever? Then what? And then there are what we call existential or future what ifs, like for example, what if I waste my life? What if at the end of my life I think, boy, did I waste my life? Or what if something terrible happens to the world? Or what if I'm not living up to my potential? Or what if I never feel truly happy? Now, after hearing all of those what ifs, you might think that what if questions cause anxiety. But again, I want to make something very clear. What if questions do not cause anxiety? It's the answer to those questions that cause anxiety. It's the answer, not the question itself. The only exception to this rule is if a person's what if question does not describe reality. For example, what if Martians are reading my mind? Right? In that case, the question is the problem. But with the overwhelming majority of times, what if questions are about things that are possible. For example, what if I say the wrong thing? Is it possible to say the wrong thing? Well, sure it is. But that isn't the issue. The real problem is the feared consequence of saying the wrong thing. Therefore, to make yourself unafraid of saying the wrong thing, you first need to answer the question, the what if question. That will help you to understand what your actual fear is. What if I say the wrong thing? Well, if I say the wrong thing, people will reject me, and that would be terrible. And why would it be terrible to be rejected? Because if they reject me, I'll be alone, and that would be terrible because I can't stand being alone. And remember, if you have any questions, be sure to call in, or you can type in your questions, and be glad to answer any that you have. Therefore, if a person really believes that it would be a terrible thing to be alone, and of course they will feel anxious at the possibility of saying the wrong thing. And by the way, what they will often do because of their fear is to avoid those situations altogether. Their avoidance provides relief for them, which encourages them to continue avoiding those social situations. So in other words, if I avoid social situations, then I don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing and people being offended and rejecting me. So their avoidance reinforces their belief that being rejected is something to fear. In other words, I wouldn't be avoiding it if it wasn't a dangerous thing. Now contrast that with, if I say something wrong, people might dislike it and they might reject me for it. That does not mean that everyone on the planet will dislike me. But even if everyone does, that would only be unfortunate and unpleasant for me. I can stand being alone. I just don't like it. Therefore, I refuse to live my life in fear of that possibility, because the worst thing that will happen is if I say the wrong thing and people reject me, is that I'll have an unfortunate situation. Therefore, if you have a tendency to what if this, what if that, I encourage you to use the following formula. What if blank happens? Then that means blank will happen, and that would mean blank. Okay, someone said it's not the end of the world if something happens. Right, the only thing that is the end of the world is the end of the world, right? Everything else we can stand, we can take. The only thing that will prove itself as something that you cannot stand is that thing that ultimately kills you. Otherwise, everything else in your life you will have withstood. Now, sometimes people withstand it poorly. Sometimes people get through things by drinking themselves silly or drugging or avoiding or a whole host of other things. But they still get through it, right? And so often it's not a matter of learning how to withstand something. It's a matter of learning how to withstand it calmly, perhaps, or more effectively, or rationally. Okay? So, for example, using this formula, what if I embarrass myself? Then that would mean that people will judge me to be inadequate. And then that would mean that I am inadequate. And if I am inadequate objectively, that means that no one will want me. And if no one wants me, I'll spend my life alone and miserable. So you see how that works? And so really what we're doing here is working to identify underlying assumptions. And if you missed our podcast on underlying assumptions, I think it was the second or the third episode. You can check that out anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Look for the Rational Living Show with Dr. Aldo Pucci, and you'll find it. Or on YouTube, you can find it on our YouTube channel, the Rational Living Show, as well. And so to learn more about underlying assumptions. So then once you've identified these, then work at challenging and correcting that irrational nonsense. For example, embarrass myself really means do something that people will find fault with and maybe even ridicule. Because you see, there is no such thing as objectively embarrassing behavior. No such thing. There is behavior that people dislike. There is behavior that people might find fault with, that they might even ridicule. But then the second point is, just because you do something that people find ridiculous does not mean that they will think that somehow you are inadequate necessarily, which actually means too inadequate. Then you ask, well, too inadequate for what? And sometimes it's, you're so inadequate, I don't want to associate with you. But if we replace the word inadequate with if they do not like me, then we will be more likely to realize that their disliking of you is a matter of personal preference. As a matter of fact, the next book that I'm going to publish, hopefully by the end of the year, since I finished the second edition of the Client's Guide, is a book that the title of my new book is If Everyone Likes You, You Do Not Know Very Many People. You cannot know very many people if everyone likes you. But the point is that it's very difficult to identify any goal that requires everyone to like you. As a matter of fact, there might be disadvantages to everyone liking you. Okay. So just because some people dislike you, some people do not want to associate with you because they find fault with you in some way, does not mean everyone on the planet will have that same opinion of you. However, where we how we develop an even more effective strategy to deal with these things, mentality, is this last point. If the entire planet decided that they did not want to associate with you, that would only be unpleasant and uncomfortable. You see, that's the ultimate solution. So is it possible that we might say something, that we might do something? So the idea is, well, what if I give a speech and people will think, as a matter of fact, years ago, I taught a college class at a local college near where we lived, my wife and I. And at the very beginning of the semester, I told the class that they had to give a speech at the end of the semester. And so they made themselves so anxious about having to get up in front of people and to give a speech. And so they asked me, about how to get over their nerves, so to speak, to be able to give a speech more calmly. So during one class, someone raised their hand and said, how is it that you're able to stand in front of this class and so calmly and confidently teach us, without being nervous? And I said, well, a couple of things, I suppose. One is I'm pretty confident that I know the material, but much more importantly than that, the bottom line is this. If I were to say something that you thought was completely ridiculous, that you thought, boy, there must be something wrong with this guy because look at what he just said. You might laugh about it when I say it. You might laugh about it during the break because it was an evening class, a 3-hour class. You might laugh about it all the way home. You might tell your family what an idiotic thing your professor said. But then by the next day, you would probably drop it. And if you didn't, you have a very boring life. Okay, so the bottom line is this. What effect does any of that have on me? Nothing, none. Now, of course, if somehow, the dean thought I was not competent enough to teach the class, he might fire me. But then I'd have to see, well, what kind of an impact would that have on my life, really? So that's the whole point, is that it's important for us to examine just what do I think the consequence of whatever it is that I'm afraid of is. And that's what this what if. Often people just stop with the what if question. Well, what if this happens? What if this lump turns out to be cancer? Well, let's answer the question. So what do I think actually will happen? Well, if I have cancer, then that means I'm necessarily going to die, and that would be a horrible thing because then my kids wouldn't have a mother, and they'll grow up disturbed, and all those things. So once you understand what your actual fears are by answering the question, what if, then you're in a much better position to examine, just what is the evidence here? Is it indeed a fact that just because I have cancer, that I necessarily will die? And is it indeed a fact that if I do die, my kids will have to grow up disturbed adults, and that would be a horrible thing? So see, by answering the question, it helps us then to examine those thoughts to see if they're rational for us or not. Okay. All right. Let's see if we have any other questions. Okay. So someone said you have to think that it's okay if it's uncomfortable, but you'll be okay. Yeah, that's it. That's right. And that's most things in life are inconveniences, sometimes huge inconveniences, but still just that. Meaning that as unfortunate and as unpleasant as it might be, it's something that is survivable, thank God. It's something that we can take, that we can stand, but we just might not like it. And because we don't like it, or because it might be a problem for us in relation to our goals, it might make sense to work on it, but to live our life in fear of, oh my God, what a horrible thing, I couldn't take it, I couldn't stand it. The only thing that you ultimately will not be able to stand is the thing that kills you. Everything else are things that are unpleasant, uncomfortable, but things that you'll have gotten through. Okay? All right, so answer those what if questions and work at challenging them. And obviously, if you have difficulty challenging them, I encourage you to seek the help of a good cognitive behavioral therapist. If you visit nacbt.org, there is a listing of some therapists who decided they wanted to, who are certified by our association, who elected to be on the referral database. And so I encourage you to check them out. And the Rational Living Show is broadcast every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and our NACBT Facebook page and LinkedIn, and also wherever you listen to podcasts, and especially the Podbean app. So I encourage you to let everybody know about our podcast. And next week, we're going to have a question and answer session on anxiety. And so please come with your questions and ask away, and I'll do my very best to answer them. And if you have questions, you can email me at Aldo, ALDO, at nacbt.org, and I'll be glad to answer them, during our next podcast. Okay? Well, so thank you very much for watching and for your support, and wish you well.